Shy intern's life-changing mistake: discover the hidden CEO she complained about at a VIP table. In the heart of Chicago, the air was electric with glamour and ambition, as elegant gowns swirled and laughter echoed through the lavish gala hall. Sarah, a shy 22-year-old intern, gripped her glass of sparkling water, trying to blend into the backdrop of the elite event. Dressed in a simple black dress, she felt like a shadow among the vibrant, self-assured professionals, each seemingly equipped with the confidence that danced through the air like confetti. Raised in a small town where hard work was celebrated over simple Sunday dinners, her heart ached to make her family proud in a world that felt foreign and intimidating. As she navigated the room, the whispers of her colleagues wrapped around her like a choking vine. They moved effortlessly, weaving tales of success and creativity she could only dream of. Sarah wore her ambition like a weight, her dreams of the American dream overshadowed by fear. But tonight, something felt different. It was as if the very atmosphere was rousing fire within her. Just as she began to feel the allure of the event, she overheard a hushed conversation from the upper management table. They were discussing the very project she had poured her heart into, an idea bursting with potential that she had meticulously crafted during late nights at her tiny apartment. Instead of bursting with pride, frustration bubbled within her. How could they talk about it as if it were their brainchild? Sarah felt invisible, the whispers of her family's values echoing in her mind, urging her to speak up. In a moment of exasperation, emboldened by a surge of adrenaline, she found herself standing, her voice trembling yet determined, a flame igniting in her chest. "You know what's really stifling our creativity," she said, projecting her voice across the room. "It's the hidden CEO at this table. The one who decides our fates without understanding the hard work we put in every day." Gasps broke out. Colleagues exchanged dubious glances. She realized the hidden CEO, the very man she criticized, sat just feet away from her, listening intently. Her heart raced faster. She felt the stares of judgment piercing through her armor of hope, each whisper like a dagger of doubt. "What have I done?" she thought, devastated by the sudden awareness of her vulnerability. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." With that realization, she steadied herself. Here she was, a young woman cradling the dreams of her family and struggling against the tides of the corporate world. As the CEO finally rose, surprise painted across his features, he studied her for a heartbeat longer. In that heavy silence, hope ignited. Could this be the moment when her voice finally counted? The room brimmed with palpable tension, collective breaths holding tight. Would she be validated, or would her boldness meet a cold wall of dismissal? As the CEO's eyes locked onto hers, Sarah braced herself to face the status quo. In this moment, everything hung in the balance. Would her voice resonate, or would it fall silent alongside her insecurities? The CEO, a man with salt and pepper hair and a sharp suit, cleared his throat, breaking the silence that had settled thickly in the air. "Interesting perspective," he said, his voice deep and steady. The crowd watched in bated breath, a palpable mix of intrigue and apprehension hanging over them. Sarah's heart pounded like a drum in her chest, each beat urging her to stand firm, to hold her ground amidst the scrutiny. "Tell me," he continued, "which hidden CEO are you referring to?" His eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief, but there was also something deeper, a challenge. Without thinking, she launched into a torrent of thought. "It's not just about one person. It's about a mentality. Ignoring the voices that bring real, fresh ideas. We intern so hard, and for what? To have our work manipulated and molded by someone who doesn't even know our names?" Her words were rapid, as if fearing they would escape her grasp. The truth had poured out, raw and unfiltered. Somewhere in the crowd, a few whispers of approval floated through the air. Someone nodded, and she felt a surge of confidence. She was not alone in this, not in a room full of eager minds and untapped talent. The tension that once felt suffocating shimmered with a new energy. "I didn't realize this gala was a place for venting grievances," the CEO quipped. Yet, there was no malice in his voice. "Perhaps you have a point. Sometimes those in charge can become tunnel-visioned." He leaned slightly forward, and suddenly, the entire room felt like his confidant. Her cheeks burned. Was he really listening? She wouldn't let this opportunity slip through her fingers. "We need leadership that understands us leaders who see the passion behind the faces on the ground floor. We put in long hours, and our ideas matter. They're not just idle chatter, they're what drive this company forward." The collective gasp morphed into murmurs of agreement. Sarah beamed inside, an ember sparking brighter. Could this be the start of something meaningful? "But I'm just an intern," she added, her voice cracking slightly. "Ah." The CEO held up a hand, cutting across her thoughts. "And that's where you're wrong. Every voice deserves to be heard, even the ones that come timidly from the sidelines." A ripple of exhilaration washed over the room. People exchanged looks, some even seemed to be taking notes. Sarah could hardly believe the shift. It felt like a weight that had crushed her moment before, now transformed into a powerful jet of energy. The CEO took a step closer, his eyes holding hers with intensity. "Join me for a chat after this?" he asked, the invitation laced with genuine curiosity. The moment stretched, and a whirlwind of thoughts cascaded through Sarah's head. What did this mean? How could an offhand moment skyrocket into an opportunity she'd never dared to dream about? But then, another feeling crept in: fear. What if he regretted this? What if she stumbled, and this rare chance slipped from her fingers? Around her, the ambience shifted. The music swelled, the chatter regained momentum, but Sarah felt suspended in time, caught between the weight of reality and the blossoming possibilities. As her adrenaline pumped through her veins, nerves and excitement danced together in an unfamiliar rhythm. Will I really be heard? She wondered. As the gala continued without her full comprehension, a new chapter loomed ahead, one she could never have imagined stepping into just moments ago. A decision was upon her, and as her heart raced, a question lingered in the air. How far was she willing to go to be a voice that mattered? The clinking of glasses and the soft murmur of conversation enveloped Sarah, yet the world around her felt distant. Time seemed to unfurl slowly, each tick of the clock a reminder of the impending conversation that loomed like a beacon in the fog of her thoughts. "Sarah, are you coming?" Joe, her fellow intern, whispered urgently as she squeezed through the crowd, her excitement crackling like electricity. "He just invited you to talk. That's huge." "I know, Sarah hesitated, her heart a battlefield of hope and fear. "What if I mess it up? What if he sees me as just another voice in the crowd?" Joe's eyes sparkled with disbelief. "Seriously? You just stood up in front of the entire company and challenged the CEO. You've got this. It's your moment." With Joe's encouragement echoing in her mind, Sarah took a deep breath and squared her shoulders, her determination rising. The noise around her faded as she focused on the man at the center of the gala, still wearing that enigmatic smile. Stepping toward him felt like pushing against an invisible wall, her body stiff with anxiety, but her heart yearned for connection. The crowd parted as she approached, her steps slow but purposeful. She could see a spark of curiosity dance in his eyes and felt that familiar mix of fear and exhilaration. "Hi, I'm Sarah," she said, the words spilling out in a tumble. "Thank you for the invitation to talk." "Of course, Sarah." He gestured to a quieter corner of the room, where the hum of the gala faded slightly into the background. "I found your passion refreshing. It's not often someone speaks so openly." She smiled, relief washing over her. Well, I didn't think I just felt like it was time someone expressed what all the interns feel. It's hard to watch our work go unseen, you know? He nodded, his expression serious as he leaned closer. You're right. The disconnect between upper management and the ground floor can stifle innovation and flatline a company's potential. The conversation flowed, and as they exchanged thoughts, Sarah felt a strange confidence bubbling inside her. Each idea she shared lit up his face, and he scribbled notes as if her words were gold. It was surreal, this moment she had longed for now unfolding before her, and yet, alongside it lingered a haunting fear. What if this led to disappointment? What if his interest was fleeting, just a whim of the evening? Tell me more about your thoughts on mentorship, he asked suddenly, and the question brought her crashing back into the moment. She pivoted quickly, ready to share her vision for a mentorship program that would truly connect experienced staff with younger employees, their potential unlocked through guidance. As she spoke, she noticed others glancing at them, some with intrigue, others with thinly veiled envy. The weight of their scrutiny settled on her shoulders. What if I fail? She thought, her heart racing again. Then a simple truth settled in her mind: whether she succeeded or failed didn't matter as much as the opportunity to try. She could be a voice. Her voice. As she wrapped up her thoughts, she caught the CEO leaning forward, clearly intrigued. You know, he said, people like you are the future of this company. I'd love to explore a way to keep these conversations going. Perhaps even establish a platform where interns can voice their ideas without fear. Could it be a chance not just for her, but for every intern? Excitement swelled within her, but as quickly as it rose, a question pierced through: what would she need to sacrifice to make this happen? The path forward felt bright yet daunting, glimmering with challenge and possibility. As they both stood there, time seemed to stop again. The moment felt suspended between now and what's next, and Sarah knew that the real journey was just beginning. Do you really mean it? She asked, hardly believing the words tumbling from her lips. Absolutely, he replied, his smile widening, igniting hope. Let's change the way things are done. But just when she thought the ground beneath her feet had solidified, a new thought intruded. What did it mean for her future? Would she be able to rise with this new opportunity, or would it slip through her fingers like so many dreams before? And as the gala buzzed around them, Sarah found herself at the cusp of change, pondering the most crucial question: was she ready for the impact they could create? As the night wore on, Sarah's emotions danced between exhilaration and uncertainty. She stood on the precipice of something significant, yet the weight of responsibility felt heavy on her shoulders. The CEO's words echoed in her mind, a mix of challenge and possibility, urging her forward. Let's change the way things are done. But what did that mean for her? Would she be the one to ignite that change, or merely a fleeting spark in the company's grand machine? Sarah, come join us, Joe exclaimed, waving her over to a group that had formed near the dance floor. It was a mixture of interns and seasoned employees, their animated laughter ringing out like a siren call. With a lingering glance at the CEO, Sarah hesitated, then made her way toward the table. The energy was infectious, full of light banter and lively discussion. Her heart raced with the thrill of connection, but a small voice of doubt whispered in her ear. They don't want to hear what you have to say. As she approached, she caught snippets of conversation, talk of projects, promotions, and parties. Everyone seemed to have their place, their role, while she stood on the fringes. Gulping down her insecurities, she tried to push them aside. I can do this, she reminded herself. Hey, Sarah. Lucas, one of the other interns, grinned as she slid into a seat. He was one of the few she felt comfortable with, and his easygoing presence was grounding. How did it go with the CEO? Did he ask you to run the place yet? She chuckled nervously. Not quite. But I think we're on the same page about needing a mentorship program. A cheer erupted around the table, the humor making her smile widen. Nice. Just don't let it go to your head, Joe teased, nudging her playfully. As the conversation continued, Sarah felt the tantalizing buzz of camaraderie enveloping her. She shared her ideas, the ones she had discussed with the CEO, and her coworkers listened attentively, conversations ebbing and flowing in a mosaic of shared aspirations and laughter. For a moment, the vibrant connection made her forget the earlier fears, the doubts danced away by the warmth of acceptance. But a shadow flickered in the corner of her mind. What if the interest in her ideas faded? Would they still listen when the thrill of the evening wore off? Suddenly, escalating voices from across the room drew her attention. A heated exchange was taking place, and the clamor in the once jovial atmosphere stilled. The CEO stood with his back to her, engaged in a tense discussion with one of the senior directors. Dramatic hand gestures and narrowed brows punctuated their words, a stark contrast to the light-hearted moments shared just moments before. Without thinking, Sarah leaned closer, the desire to understand pulling her in like gravity. A word caught her ear: incompetent. It was harsh, directed sharply at the very issue she had just championed. Her stomach twisted, and she felt as if she had fallen into a hole. How could this be happening? "Do you hear that?" Lucas whispered. The concern evident in his voice snapped her back to reality. "What is going on?" "I don't know," Sarah murmured, dread pooling in her gut. But if the CEO isn't on their side, what if that changes everything? Just then, a loud clatter broke through her thoughts. Someone had knocked over their drink, and it spilled dangerously close to the CEO's feet. The room tensed as the focus shifted back, a mix of sympathy, laughter, and shock threading through the onlookers. As the night continued and conversations resumed, Sarah sat frozen, her mind racing. If the CEO was at odds with the very people he would need to support her ideas, how would she navigate this complex web? The stakes were rising, and her dreams of an open platform for interns suddenly seemed threatened. The question that loomed wasn't just personal now, it spiraled into the corporate landscape. Could she bridge that divide, or was she to become just another voice drowned out in the chaos? Determined, Sarah inhaled deeply, the fight igniting within her. She had to act. But what brave step could she take? Amid the uncertainty? How could she ensure that her voice wasn't just heard but resonated with the changes she wanted to bring? With her heart pounding and resolve tightening, one thought crystallized in her mind: this was no longer just about her. It was about all the voices that had gone unheard. The path to making those voices matter had just begun. The music pulsed in the background, but Sarah barely noticed it anymore. The laughter around the table felt like distant echoes, drowned out by the whirlwind of turmoil inside her head. Every heartbeat amplified her rising anxiety, each thud reminding her of the responsibility she suddenly felt. She had held on to her dream of initiating real change, but now, what if she became the target? What if her ideas were crushed before they even took flight? "Hey, Sarah, you okay?" Lucas's voice broke through her thoughts, a gentle nudge toward reality. His eyes were filled with genuine concern, urging her to let him in. "Yeah, just thinking," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. But Lucas didn't buy it. He had seen her stumbles, her worries, and he knew something was amiss. "It's about the CEO, isn't it?" he asked quietly, glancing toward the gathering of senior staff who still seemed to hold their breath after the earlier commotion. "You look like you've seen a ghost." She sighed, unsure of how to explain the uproar brewing inside her. "I worry that he's not on our side. If he disagrees with them." Her words trailed off, heavy with implication. "Then we need to get him on our side," Lucas said, a spark igniting in his eyes. "You've got the ideas that could matter, Sarah. We just need to rally support." Rally support. The words echoed like a battle cry. Could she really mobilize everyone around her? She thought about Joe, the interns, even those senior employees. Perhaps they could form an alliance, a united front. Driven by the flicker of hope Lucas rekindled, Sarah scanned the room, her gaze landing on the other interns. They were seated, engaged in their own conversations, unaware of the tensions bubbling under the surface. It struck her, they all shared the same goal, the same vision for an open dialogue in a level playing field, but that unity felt fragile. She would have to provide the spark, the motivation to ignite a blaze. "Let us gather everyone," Sarah said suddenly, confidence pouring out of her even as uncertainty tightened its noose around her heart. "We need to talk about how we can support each other, and I want you at the forefront." Lucas nodded, his expression shifting from concern to enthusiastic encouragement. "I'm in. I can reach out to some of the other interns. If we can get even a few people together, it'll send a message. And maybe we can bring it to the CEO," she suggested, her nerves easing as she spoke. "He needs to know we want to be part of the conversation." As they planned, a warmth surged through her, pushing her earlier doubts aside. This wasn't just her dream anymore. It was something bigger, a movement shaping right before her eyes. The clock ticked, and she felt the minutes whip by like wind. Her heart raced again, not from fear, but exhilaration. The idea of a gathering felt empowering, and every idea they bandied about solidified her resolve. Suddenly, her voice didn't just matter in a few discussions, it could ring out loud enough to break through the corporate noise even to the CEO himself. "This is just the beginning," Sarah murmured, almost as if speaking to herself. But even as hope bloomed, the other part of her still churned with unease. Would her plan work? What if they faced backlash instead of support? As she glanced back toward the CEO, still deep in his conversation now punctuated by tensions anew, Sarah could feel the vast gap between her aspirations and the corporate reality solidify. She couldn't afford to have her voice lost in all of this. "Let us do this," she said, a newfound fire igniting with every syllable. But even as she spoke, a deeper fear gnawed at her. What if gathering support only drew her into the crosshairs of corporate conflict? What if standing up for her beliefs cost her everything? The night was far from over, and as she took a steadying breath, right then, she knew the next step would be the most critical. Could they muster enough courage and clarity to confront the turmoil? With her heart racing, she clutched her drink, her grip firm on the glass, but the uncertainty still creeping in. Where would this newfound ambition lead them, and what sacrifices would they have to make along the way? The moment Sarah made the decision to rally the interns, something shifted in the air. The laughter and music still hung around them like a thick fog, but somehow, it felt easier to breathe. She glanced at Lucas again, his eyes alight with the promise of action, a mirror of her determination. "Okay, how do we start?" she asked, rising from her chair, her legs slightly shaky but her resolve solid. Lucas stood too, scanning the room. "Let us gather everyone over by the bar. It's more casual there, and people are less likely to get distracted by the upper management tables." On her way, Sarah's heart leaped at the thought of approaching each in turn. She could feel the weight of their expectations, and with every step, self-doubt crept in. What if they thought she was overstepping? Would they trust her? "Hey, everyone!" Lucas's voice rang out, and the small group of interns turned their attention to him. Sarah took a deep breath and joined him. As they formed a circle, Sarah's eyes searched the faces around her, some familiar, some not. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice shaky but growing stronger with each word. "I know this night should be about celebration, but we need to talk. Things are changing at our company, and I think we all feel it." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Lucas jumped in. "We've been hearing whispers of new policies, and they could impact us all. I think it's time we band together, support each other, share our ideas, and show that we want to be heard." As she looked around, the surprise started to fade into something powerful. She could almost feel the energy of collective ambition building in the space. "What if we write up a proposal with our ideas and bring it to the CEO? I've heard that he's been receptive to feedback, especially from younger employees." Nods of approval turned into excited chatter. Sarah felt alive as her idea took root. "Let us do it together." Joe, one of the quieter interns, piped up. "We all want a seat at the table. We shouldn't be afraid to speak up." That little push of affirmation sent a wave of confidence through Sarah. She felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, tears of hope mixed with the budding fear of what lay ahead. They were counting on her, and there could be no backing down now. Suddenly, a shadow loomed behind her. It was the CEO, standing at the edge of the bar, a bemused expression on his face as he listened. Heart hammering, Sarah realized they had unwittingly attracted his attention. "What is going on here?" he asked, a hint of curiosity laced with caution. A hush fell over the group as all eyes turned to Sarah. This was the moment. Her breath was caught in her throat. What should she say? She swallowed hard, her heart racing. "We were just discussing some ideas on how we can contribute to the company's direction, and we'd love the chance to bring them to you." The CEO raised an eyebrow, intrigued but somehow still guarded. "Interesting. I'd like to hear more. Just pick a time to meet, and we'll see where it goes." With that, he turned away, leaving the interns buzzing with excitement and fear. As the CEO walked off, Sarah felt a rush of mixed emotions. They'd taken a leap, but would it be enough? What if their ideas were dismissed? What if they faced retaliation instead of support? Did that just happen? Lucas whispered, his face lit up with disbelief. "Yes, and I feel like we're teetering on the edge of something big," Sarah replied, exhilarated yet anxious. They had seized a moment, but the night had a way of testing their resolve. With so much at stake, how would they ensure their voices were heard without inviting backlash? As the crowd settled down and the night still pulsed with life, Sarah realized their journey was just starting. Would they find a safe path toward making a real impact? With questions swirling around in her mind, Sarah's heart beat with a mix of anticipation and fear. They had lit the spark, but would it blaze into something transformative or flicker out in the end? The chatter at the bar grew louder, but Sarah felt as if she had stepped into a bubble, her mind racing. They had caught the CEO's attention, but now what? The moment felt electric yet precarious, as if a single slip could shatter this new sense of possibility. "Hey, Sarah," Joe whispered, pulling her back from her spiraling thoughts. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, just thinking," Sarah admitted, forcing a smile. "This could actually be our shot." Joe nodded, her eyes sparkling with a blend of excitement and worry. "I hope we're ready for it. This is a big deal." Lucas emerged from the group, his expression was a mix of determination and vulnerability. "We need to be smart about what we present. We can't just go in there raw with our emotions even if everything feels right." His point sank in, and the weight of the responsibility felt heavier on Sarah's shoulders. She could not let emotions drive their proposal, they had to present a united front, serious and well thought out. "Let us get together tomorrow," Sarah said, her voice gaining strength. "We can brainstorm, write down all our ideas, and prepare. We need to back up our passion with reason." As they began rallying a plan, Sarah noticed the energy around them. Faces that had once seemed simply like colleagues were now brimming with hope and purpose. They were in this together, a small army of interns ready to fight for their place in the company. But just as she started feeling buoyed by their collective spirit, Sarah's phone vibrated violently in her pocket. She pulled it out and glanced at the screen. A notification from her mom. The message read, "Got a call from your last boss. Heard you spoke up tonight, is everything okay?" Tension twisted in her stomach. How had news of the night traveled so fast? Suddenly, Sarah felt exposed. Her past, her insecurities, everything swirled around her like a storm. And didn't her mom always warn her to keep her head down? "Hey, what's wrong?" Lucas asked, noticing her sudden shift. "Just family stuff," she mumbled, tucking her phone away. Let us focus on this. But inside, her fear bubbled. What if her past encounters with her former boss were being scrutinized? If they knew who she was really, her flaws, her mistakes, would they dismiss her proposal outright? The evening wore on, laughter and music blending into a distant hum as the group engaged in fervent discussions. Sarah tried to shake off her worries, but her mom's words lingered like a shadow in her mind. What if this moment, which felt so full of possibility, led her to face unexpected consequences? As the clock approached midnight, Lucas suggested they draft a list of key points to present to the CEO. "We need a strong opening statement," he said decisively. Something that grabbed their attention. Sarah felt a surge of courage as she reached for a pen. What if we open with our mission? What we want, why we're motivated, that's it. Around her, the other interns nodded vigorously. They began to bounce ideas off each other, each suggestion nurturing the energy between them. Sarah's heart raced with hope, but another voice within echoed darker thoughts. What if their passionate words echoed back to haunt them? What if they were dismissed? But what if they enchanted the CEO, igniting the change they hoped for? As they wrapped up for the night, Sarah looked around at the smiles, the spark of camaraderie igniting the room. There was so much uncertainty ahead, but they were moving forward. Together. Yet, as she stepped outside into the cool air, a nagging feeling gripped her gut. Tomorrow would matter. More than any other day, it could change everything. In the back of her mind, she couldn't shake one haunting question: was she ready to face the hidden successes and failures that could emerge from this? And what dangerous truths would surface as they pushed through the corporate veil? The following morning dawned cold and bright. Sarah pulled on a sweater as she arrived at the office, the hum of the city bustling outside competing with the anxious thrum in her chest. She could feel the weight of the day pressing down on her, heavier than ever. Every step to her desk felt like she was marching into the unknown. Lucas and Joe were already there, poring over notes spread out like a puzzle on the conference table. It was reassuring to see familiar faces, but still, Sarah fought the urge to panic. "Hey, look! The fearless leader has arrived," Lucas said with a smile, trying to lighten the mood. "Only if I don't trip over my own words," Sarah replied, forcing a laugh even as her stomach churned. Joe shot her a supportive glance. "We're all in this together. Remember, this is our moment." They huddled, brainstorming, jotting down ideas. Sarah felt the collective energy rise, lifting her spirits for a moment. But every time she glanced at her phone, her mom's message replayed in her mind. What had her former boss said? How would the CEO react? "Okay, so we open with the mission statement," Sarah suggested after some deliberation. And then she paused, her voice hesitating. "We can tie in some of our personal experiences to show why this matters to us." "Hard no on the personal stuff," Lucas said, his brow furrowed. "We want to be relatable, but also professional. Stick to the facts." The discussion grew heated. Ideas were pitched and rejected, tension building like the storm inside Sarah. She could feel the room closing in, each voice growing more muffled as fear wormed its way in. What if she didn't speak up? What if she only faded into the background as usual? "Sarah," Joe's voice pierced through the haze. "What do you think?" All eyes turned to her. Suddenly, the weight of their expectations loomed large. "I think," she hesitated, wrestling with her thoughts. "I think we need to be authentic. Yes, facts are key, but passion can't be overlooked. If we're not ourselves, what's the point?" Lucas's expression softened, but uncertainty lingered in the air. "It's a risk," he warned quietly. "I know," Sarah said firmly. "But, what if this moment is exactly about that? Being vulnerable can be our strength." The hesitance in their eyes slowly transformed into consideration. Joe smiled, and Sarah felt a flicker of something, a connection, a unity amidst the uncertainty. Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed again, cutting through the moment. She glanced at the screen and her heart dropped. It was another message from her mom. I know you don't like hearing about your past, but it might be important to clear the air. Call me when you can. Is everything okay? Lucas asked, noticing her sudden stillness. Yeah, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Just need to focus. They continued their discussions, yet an emotional shadow loomed over Sarah. As they wrapped up their preparation, the tension loosened but shadows of her fears and worries lurked. What if they revealed too much of themselves? What if their strengths turned into weaknesses under scrutiny? The hours ticked away, and finally, it was time. The meeting room felt ominous as they filed inside, the polished table gleaming under the lights. Sarah's heart raced, the walls seemed to close in. The door swung open, and in walked the CEO, a figure of authority and poise. Their gazes met, and for a heartbeat, everything else faded. In that moment, something inside shifted in Sarah. She was more than her past, more than her fears. She was part of an army, ready to fight for what mattered. But just as she took a deep breath to start, an unexpected voice from the back interrupted. I'm sorry, but I have something to say. And in that moment, everything shifted again. What new truths would this voice bring? Would it strengthen them, or tear them apart? The silence that followed felt like a ripple expanding through the room. Sarah's heart pounded, her eyes darting to the source of the voice. A young intern, Jamie, stood in the back, nervous yet determined. The collective gaze of the entire team turned on her, the tension thickening in the air like fog rolling in off the water. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't the dramatic moment she had envisioned. Jamie looked as if she were about to spill a secret that could shake the foundations of their carefully crafted presentation. The CEO's expression was unreadable, a mask of professionalism that made Sarah's stomach twist. I really think we should just Jamie began, but the way she stuttered suggested second thoughts. Sarah almost felt sorry for her. Everyone at the table knew what it meant to face an audience. But the words were out now, and there was no turning back. Jamie, the CEO said, her tone calm but firm. If you have something to say, please go ahead. The room felt charged, a mix of confusion and anticipation. Sarah glanced at Lucas and Joe, searching for some sort of reassurance. They all understood the stakes. If this went haywire, it could spell disaster for their project and their careers. I overheard some conversations during a dinner, Jamie said, her voice trembling slightly but growing steadier. I know it wasn't professional, but I didn't think it'd be this big of a deal. I heard some negative comments about our leadership. She hesitated, trying to find the right words. That maybe we weren't going in the right direction, and that we could do better. The CEO's eyebrows raised slightly, an expression of intrigue crossing her features. And you felt it was important to bring this up now? Yes. Jamie said, gaining a bit more confidence. Because if we really want to make a difference, I think we need to be open about how we feel, even if it's uncomfortable. An eruption of whispers swept across the table, like a gust of wind through dry leaves. Lucas shot Sarah a look, a mixture of fear and possibilities flashing in his eyes. Joe leaned forward, completely engrossed in Jamie's expression. The CEO studied Jamie for a moment, then turned to the rest of the team. We often overlook the importance of candid feedback, especially from our younger team members. This is quite refreshing. Her tone was neutral, but a flickering light of approval lingered in her gaze, slowly warming the atmosphere. We need to create a culture where everyone feels heard, Sarah blurted out, unsure where the courage came from but feeling the rush of adrenaline. She couldn't let Jamie's brave step go unnoticed. If we're going to reshape this company, it starts with being honest about what isn't working. Sarah watched as the CEO's expression transformed, shifting from mere acceptance to engagement. Maybe this was the moment they all needed, a chance to lift the veil of restraint and shine a light on their fears. A sudden wave of realization crashed over Sarah. This could either turn against them or galvanize their ability to connect meaningfully. They had to harness this energy, mold it into strength. Thank you, Jamie, the CEO said, slowly nodding. I believe we can work towards that. And I'm intrigued to see where this conversation leads us. As the room buzzed, a mix of facilitation and excitement began to take over. Sarah felt a spark inside. They were standing on the edge of something big. But just when she thought clarity was within reach, another twist would challenge them. Someone else raised a hand, uncertain but eager. I think they started, and the air crackled with potential again. What more was about to unfold? Would this moment of vulnerability break barriers or build them higher? Listen, everyone, the voice called out from the other end of the table. It was Evan, a seasoned intern who had always played it safe. He shifted a bit, the weight of expectation visible on his shoulders. I think we all agree that transparency is huge, but what do we actually want to change? I mean, how do we make sure we're not just throwing ideas into a void? Eyes turned to Evan, and Sarah could sense the tension. He wasn't dismissing their effort, he was trying to ground it in reality. She took a steadying breath, ready to respond. We want to build a workplace that is not only innovative but empathetic. Let us propose tangible steps, she suggested, channeling the energy Jamie had sparked. More mentorship opportunities, open forums for feedback, regular check-ins, Joe chimed in, excitement coursing through her voice. If we can create structured communication channels, maybe we can really ensure our ideas are considered. This isn't just about us being heard, it's about creating a healthy workplace culture. The CEO nodded, her expression shifting into one of thoughtful consideration. Absolutely. I value the motivation behind this, she said, her tone carrying the weight of authority tempered with intrigue. But we need to ensure those ideas evolve into actionable strategies. We can't just toss aspirations into the air and expect them to stick. A hush filled the room, each intern digesting the weight of her words. Sarah's heart raced as she realized the significance of this moment. It wasn't just about her voice, it was about finding a collective rhythm, a communal heartbeat that could truly transform their environment. Maybe we can draft a proposal, Sarah added, her voice clear and powerful. A concrete plan with measurable outcomes, something that we can put forth together. Show them how serious we are. The energy surged around the table, and murmurs of agreement bubbled into a chorus. Lucas leaned in, eyes glistening with eagerness. We can create surveys, gather data from all the interns, and compile our findings into something that's hard to ignore. Exactly. Sarah exclaimed, emboldened by his contribution. We need to show them we're not just voices. We're a force. Our insights could drive the company into a new dimension. The CEO's brow furrowed slightly, it was a sign of deep thinking. I see where you're going with this, but it will require commitment not just from you as interns, but also from us as leaders. Look, I'll support you, but you need to demonstrate the initiative and clear direction. A spark ignited in Sarah's chest, here was not only validation but an invitation to step up. We're ready for it. We can set up regular meetings, keep you updated, and present our findings in a way that's data-driven and relatable. We'll strive to reinforce our objectives even as we share our vulnerabilities. The atmosphere brightened, an audible crackle of excitement weaving through the attendees. The CEO smiled, a rare glimpse of warmth amidst the seriousness. I must admit, I am intrigued by your tenacity. Let us chart a path forward, together. Around the table, the interns exchanged energized glances, a newfound spirit uniting them. They were no longer a collection of individuals, they were collaborators, bound by a shared vision. Let us do this, Sarah said, determination heavy in her words. Let us build the workplace we deserve, one where every voice harmonizes into something greater. The CEO nodded, her own conviction settling into the air. I'll review your final proposal and we'll arrange a follow-up. The direction you want is ambitious, but I believe it can be achieved. As the meeting drew to a close, a powerful sense of unity enveloped Sarah and her peers. They had transformed a moment of vulnerability into a stepping stone. They weren't just interns now, they were changemakers. As they stepped out of the conference room, a raucous cheer broke the initial stillness. Laughter echoed amongst them, their shared triumph igniting a buoyant spirit that had lingered for too long in the shadows. "Can you believe we did that?" Jo exclaimed, her eyes shining. "Not just did it, we owned it." Lucas grinned, his enthusiasm palpable. And as they celebrated, Sarah realized they had embraced their fears and transformed them into something extraordinary. As the chatter of excitement scattered through the halls, Sarah felt a wave of gratitude crash over her, washing away the worries that had once clung so tightly. She had faced her fears, rallied her peers, and found her voice an echo now resonating through the fabric of their workplace. "Let us keep this momentum," Sarah urged. "We'll keep fighting for each other and bring our dreams to life." Together, they affirmed, their chorus blending in synchrony. And from that day forward, every meeting, every presentation, every moment was a testament not only to individual voices but to the strength found when they blended into one. Sarah knew then that their journey didn't stop here. It had only just begun. This was their turning point, a moment stamped in time where ambition met possibility. The road ahead loomed wide and ripe with promise, living proof that every voice truly matters, and together, they could spark the change they desired. Now was the time for action, the transformation was real, and the world was watching. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive journeys ahead. Leave a like now, it fuels our fire. Tell us your thoughts on this ending in the comments below because we love hearing from you. Don't wait not even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this impactful transformation. Your support is vital for our community.